Alright, we got some more work done. Got the first layer of insulation on the ceiling. It's 1 inch, and as you can see, we still have 1/2 inch sticking out, and this has greatly stiffened the roof. It is much stiffer now. When you go up on the roof and push down on it, it doesn't flex near as bad, which is what I was hoping for. Hopefully when I'm done with it strapped, another layer of insulation, and the roof paneling, I'm hoping it's stiff enough that I can walk on the roof and not feel uncomfortable about it, because it flexes really bad. I don't feel comfortable being on the roof of this thing. Hopefully this stiffens it up. But that's what we're going for with that. So now I got to do the second layer. The second layer is going to be the tricky part, because 2 reasons. I'm putting another 1 inch layer. I only have a 1/2 inch sticking out, but I want to put strapping on all these rails. So I'm going to strap the rails, and then that gives me another, with the gap I already have, that gives me another 1 inch. So I'm going to put another 1 inch foam board in there. I could have just went straight to a 2 inch foam board, but when I bought all the stuff for the walls, I ended up way overestimating what I needed, so I have a ton left. So we're using it on the ceiling, and whatever's left I'm going to put underneath the floor. So the 1 inch, it also works for mix matching things, which is why I went with 1 inch and 1/2 inch. You can get most places with those two. So I'm going to need an extra 1 inch, but this is 1.5 inches wide, and our ceiling rails are 1 inch wide, so that leaves 1/4 inch on either side. So what my plan is, I'm going to cut the ceiling boards to fit between the rails like I did with these ones, but I'm going to run the router along the edge of it so that this sits down and it'll have a step. I know you can get stepped edge foam board, but it's usually in opposing patterns. Either way, I'm going to put a 1/4 inch groove on either side, and then put this on the ceiling with the rivets, so it'll hold the foam board in place, as well as give me my 1.5 inch strapping that I want to put the ceiling tiles in. Yeah, that's the plan. So this is my little router setup I've got here. I've had this thing for years. I bought it to do the subwoofer box in my truck, but it was cheaper to get the whole router table with the router than it was to just buy a router, which is why I ended up with this stupid little thing. It doesn't look like much, but it works. And what it'll allow me to do is precisely that. Give me a 1/2 inch of depth, and if it'll focus in here, and a 1/4 inch of width. So it'll be a 1/4 inch wide, 1/2 inch deep, and all I got to do is put my foam board on here and just run it down nice and straight. I don't have to mess around with setting jigs or trying to hold the foam board in stupid positions. You just grab the whole board and run it through, and it's hooked up to my vacuum underneath, which will hopefully suck a lot of the foam bits so it doesn't make a mess in my yard. And these things are actually pretty neat. The router and the vacuum are plugged into this one switch, so you just turn it on and it all fires up together. So that's how we're going to go about that. So I'm going to start cutting foam board, and I'll set the time lapse up and you can see how it all turns out. So there we go. I ran it through the router, got my little channel I wanted. That'll work perfect. See, I've got some foam up. This is the second layer, so we're a total of 2 inches now. But what I've done is I channeled out the foam on the router table over there, and what that does is it makes it flush with this rib where the strapping will sit. So I'll show you over here. This one's in and it is perfectly flush, and it's holding the foam up against the ceiling nice and tight. And then the once they're all in and the roofing panels are up, it should make a nice rigid unit. Now I'm Fixing these the same way I did the wall. 1/4 inch stainless rivets. It's these guys here. They're a tapered head seat. Stainless steel 1/4 inch rivet. And I'll be putting 5 per strap. Now again, we're using them because speedy screws don't stay tight. This is this is very thin tubing. It's the tubing's probably less than 1/8 of an inch. And if you look at the speedy screws, these are the screws that came in the wall on the trailer from the factory. And when they're in, there's barely even a thread and a half of engagement. I would say maybe even not even one full thread engaged into the actual aluminum. So as things move and wiggle, these just get loose. They don't hold. Rivets hold much tighter and for longer. That's why they use them in airplanes, not speedy screws. Is it overkill? Probably. But like I said earlier, I want this trailer to be super rigid, super tough, because I'm gonna beat it up. And I want to be able to walk on the roof as well, so I want this thing as structurally sound as I can get it, so I can go up on the roof and tie down a canoe or clean off my solar panels, which will be a regular occurrence, fix roof vents, whatever. I want to be able to go on the roof. I don't want to have to be worried about going through the roof. The factory roof, it's one piece of aluminum, but it's very thin, and I don't trust it to stand on it. I even put a board across when I was doing the solar panels to kneel on, and it still felt like it was bowing. But even with just the foam, I've gone up there. I have no lights in here, so last night I was working in the dark, so I had a light on the roof shining through my skylight, so I had some light in here. And even just crawling up there to put that on there, it was significantly stiffer, which is what we're going for. So we're riveting the straps on, and then the ceiling will be screwed to the straps with wood screws, and that should be super strong. And hopefully I can hide the screws enough. I'll show you later. I bought some, they're called trim screws, so you can hide them a little easier. So when I figure out how I mount all that, I'll show you that. But yeah, that's what we're doing. 2 layers of 1-inch foam, so we're 2 inches of foam. Routed edges with the straps going across to hold the foam and to give us something to screw to for the ceiling. And the wood also helps with thermal bridging from the aluminum. Essentially, if I wanted to be super what would you call conscious about insulation, I would have did it like the walls and ran the straps this way. That way there's only a small section where each strap touches the aluminum, where you'll get a little bit of thermal bridging, and then you put the 1-inch foam right over the aluminum. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not going to be doing super Arctic adventures with this trailer. So. But on the plus side, the heat will hopefully dissipate just through these rails and not lose too much heat. I'm not too worried about losing much through the roof. I have a lot of insulation in this trailer, considering how most campers are built. They're very poor. I'm R10 in the ceiling, R7.5 I think in the walls. 8, R8, somewhere around there. Plus the wood, or 1/2 inch wood, and then will be another, I think it's 3/4 inch ceiling wood. product. All the foam's up, strapped, cut out around all the vents and stuff. I even did the nose of the trailer. Sorry about the shadows, it's dark out right now, and I don't have any interior lights, so just got my little flashlight going. But we've done down around the angle of the nose here. I'm probably only going to run my ceiling tiles to here. Haven't quite decided what I'm going to do there. I might tack some plywood on or something. This is all going to be in a shelf or a cupboard, so yeah, I'm not too sure what I'm doing there, but ceiling's definitely going to come to about here and then go all the way to the back. We got some stuff to figure out at the back here. Mostly this spring. The door mechanism is kind of in the way. As you can see, I've already trimmed around it. So what I've done back here is I have a 1/2 inch layer of the pink foam, and then the 1 inch. So the pink foam's a full sheet, so there's no gap, there's no aluminum exposed, so it will insulate to a point. Then I cut 1 inch around this, and as you can see, it clearanced itself there. We're just going to leave that like that. But the problem is it's not 2 inches thick yet, so I've got to put another 1/2 inch layer of the pink foam that I have to bring it to here. But I want to put a box around this, I think, because my bed's going to be here. So I don't want anybody to be able to get their fingers caught in there or even like bump their head on anything. So I'm going to make a box around all of this. And I have to figure that out yet. The way it's looking so far is I think I'm going to put a piece of plywood in from here. Probably screw it to the frame there, and then I can build off of that. We'll see. And then I'll just cut a groove for the cable, so it'll be like a little track that it runs in, kind of like how my fingers are, like that, so you don't pinch yourself, and they just kind of disappear. That's what we want. Yeah, that'll be the next little project with or the last little bit of the foam. We'll be figuring that out and doing the box at the back. But I think what I'm going to do to make life simple is I'm basically just going to run my ceiling back. So I'm going to start at the front, see where we end up here, figure out the back after, because I might be able to just kind of run the ceiling up and then do a little zigzag with it. Oh, we'll see. But I'm going to start at the front, work my way back. That's where we're going to go with that, and then I think I'm going to router in the lights. So this is the wiring for all the lights. So what we've got, this is our ceiling tiles. I got these in, I think they're 10-foot lengths. Nice little units. So I'm going to burn them and stain them like this. But that's where we're going with that. So that's the next step, I guess, would be the ceiling. We'll start burning and staining some board. I also have to do the floor. But I kind of want to get the ceiling done before I do the floor. And also, if you've seen me drinking throughout my time lapse, this is a little drink I concocted this weekend. It's pretty good. It's White Monster and frozen fruit. Try it out. It's pretty good.